product of Central Georgia, but upstate Lee. Talk about his development here as a freshman for you.
Well, it goes in stages, and the last stage we just had in the spring, he was outstanding. Improving his range, his accuracy with range, his strength certainly, competitive level when it comes to mental toughness and fighting through things and getting over the hump. He definitely got stronger, but I thought he did a lot of good things during the year. He's like any other kid. The change in the game is so drastic when it comes to the physicality of it, when it comes to the speed of it, when it comes to the level of intensity that you've got to have time and time again. And so there's always a process that goes into that. But I thought he did a really good job with that, and has worked extremely hard since he's been there. And I think he's learning the value of that work and doing even more and more on his own. And that's the next big step for him, to be that level of consistent worker, whether it's required or not, on a day-to-day basis, keep changing his body, and keep understanding how important it is to not only drive and score and defend, but to make open shots and make them with range.
Tom, what kind of conversation you had when Nick played before you going through the process
Sure.
with the NBA? What kind of conversation you had?
Well, I saw him. I was in Chicago Thursday and Friday supporting him there. And I didn't spend a lot of time with him, but I was there all the time that he did his things. And so it's been good. I mean, it really, being up there is more hearing from the teams. He's interviewed extremely well. I thought he did a nice job the way that he played. He's continuing to give himself real options, you know, whether it's to stay in the draft or whether it's to come back. I don't know if a lot of that has changed. I mean, he had that going in, and now he's just going through it more. He's got more workouts with teams this week. So it's really just a situation of being supportive and taking in the information, you know, that we're getting from the other teams, and at some point compare notes. But I'm proud of the way that he's playing, and I'm really proud of the way that he's handling it. And he's representing Georgia not only really well on the court, but how he is in these interviews with the teams, because they were seeking me out to tell me how good his interview process was. So really what it's going to come down to, does he have that opportunity to go and be drafted this year, or is probably now upwards of 5 GMs have said to me that if he stays, and you know, give or take in this, you know, paraphrasing to a degree, if he stays on the path that he's on and he stays on the track that he's on, he could move his way into the lottery, somewhere to that lottery in the year. So I mean, that's what they're going to have to. That's what they're going to have to navigate. But they're handling it extremely well.
Will you have a conversation with him one more time before he makes that
Well,
conversation?
I'll have a conversation with him numerous times.
Okay.
But it's not always about that. That's not what it is. My job is to support him, right? And he's a part of Georgia, whether he leaves now or whether he leaves next year or whether he leaves the year after. He's part of it forever. I mean, and that's what he's got. So it's a completely honest-based deal. It's not me trying to talk him into something that's not real. I mean, what you do, and you learn this early on in this profession, is give them the honest truth, give them the honest feedback, give it from the decision makers, and give it to them so that they have the best opportunity to make the best decision. And he's got a great family.
You think he helped himself to become a first-round draft pick this year?
I don't know. I don't have a first round pick in the sense of looking at it from that vantage point. I read all the different stuff, but he played well. I mean, he showed different things. He certainly is capable of playing so much better. But again, that's such a hypothetical until somebody says, "Hey, yeah, that's our guy." And so I really don't even know how to look at it that way. But I didn't think he did anything poorly. But I certainly know he's capable of playing at a high level. And it's hard when you go into those situations. I mean, he was playing the 5 spot, you know, basically inside of those scrimmage situations. So. But they look at, I'm sure, a lot of different factors, and if they're basing it just on how he plays in Chicago, well, then they wouldn't be doing their pure homework, you know, what they've done with workouts, what they've done with his body of work over the season, you know, the getting to know him process, the interview process, all that type of stuff. So I really don't know.
How much does considering all the guys that are coming in, this Knicks decision affect you guys?
In what sense?
Your team?
I don't know. I mean, it's a hypothetical. I mean, I can't base anything on that. We've got to keep recruiting. We are recruiting, and we've got another scholarship right now that we plan to use, but I can't project like that. I mean, in this business right now where you better be active and you're recruiting like we are, certainly you want to plan, but the days of planning out so far in advance, those days are gone right now. And this is going to be the way it's going to be every year. If we're doing the best we can, we're going to have guys that are up for the NBA. You know, hopefully every year. I mean, that means we're doing something right. But the bottom line is, we can't put too much into it right now when it comes to how's it going to affect us, how's it not going to affect us. If he's back, we need to sign somebody else. If he's not back, then we need to look at what we would do with that scholarship and just see what would happen. So we're actively recruiting. I'm back there watching film now, just on the phone with one of our coaches about a player. It's constant right now, and we just have to stay. It's a fluid process, so you have to stay very flexible in it, and you do scenarios. But I haven't even done much of that right now. You know, that'll start to play itself out more once we get into the summer with the scenarios of how we're going to play and things. I know we've got to get our pace of play a lot faster than what it's been. I know we've got to take care of the ball better. I know we've got to make sure we're making more open shots, you know, and shooting the ball better. So those become the things that you focus on, and as we get our team set, it'll play itself out a little bit more. But right now, it's just a matter of making sure that everybody that we have is improving the best that they can and see where it goes.
You touched on this, and you said you're still recruiting. You sent
Absolutely.
out a pretty intriguing tweet right after that with all the guys who signed, and you said, not done yet. I think.
Yeah, it wasn't, I didn't mean it to be clandestine like that. I mean, we got, so I came back, we didn't have anything on the horizon right there. I mean, recruiting's incredibly fluid right now, more so than ever this time of year. And because you do have somebody that's in the draft process, we're not alone, certainly, because we do have a scholarship right now, because we would like to definitely add some size right now, because we have been so active in the spring with our recruiting. So we sent that picture, and I just thought, hey, we're not done yet. We're going to add to it, right? It's part of it.
Both of the transfer portal being what it is, yeah, can you estimate how many different guys your staff has looked at over the past couple of months?
No, not number-wise. But we don't really, what I don't try to do is make a phone call until I've watched this, at least some film. In some cases, more film, others than not, or more film in some cases, depending on who it is, if I know them or not. But it's constant. And we're spending a lot of time on film in the spring anyways. But I try to, when it's somebody that I don't know, I try to start from the last shot they took to the first shot they took in the season. Look at all their shots, look at all their turnovers, look at all their fouls drawn and committed as much as we, to at least to a 15-game level if we can, and then look anywhere from 50 to 75 defensive clips. And then if there's time, look at some game film, but just try to really get a feel before we get into it and see where the interest level is. Because the worst thing you can do, and this happens a bunch, and this is what screws recruiting up, people just start calling kids, everybody that turns around and comes out. I don't want us to do that, right? And we don't want to be behind. And that happens too. You can get behind. It's always great when you know something's going to happen before it happens, but that's not always the case. But we want to be very, very, we want to be as knowledgeable as we can about who we're calling and how they would fit into us. Because it's really, really important that we get guys that are going to fit with how we want to play.
With the guys that you've announced, the guys that you've signed this far, how much better, how well have you guys been able to address your ability to shoot the basketball and kind of, be able to play from the perimeter?
Well, we'll see that more. I think pretty good. I don't think there's any doubt about that, and we've really addressed that in the recruiting until we get in there and start utilizing the spacing, and if the line changes, hopefully that'll change the freshmen and the new guys some. But we practice with the NBA line down. It's down permanent in our practice gym. So that hopefully, and we spent a lot of time on range this spring in the 4.5 weeks that we had, 5 weeks that we had to work with them. So I would hope we're going to be better. We definitely shot it better in the spring, but we've got to be able to do that obviously in the stages that build up into the games. But there's no question we missed far too many open shots this past year. And if you're going to, you've got to find ways to differentiate. We have no way to differentiate in this league if you're not making open shots. And so that being said, even with all the turnovers, we've got to make sure we're getting good looks, and we got to make sure we're knocking down more of them.
Tom, you also in a system that ties to Atlanta. You brought in a guy that has a good defensive background, steals leader. How do you balance what you need for your staff? What was it important to look at someone that was from the region, or?
It's important to get the best coach possible, and I think that's what we try to do, and for where we're at this point. And the thing I like about John is that he'll be able to practice with our team. He just turned 41 the day I saw him do some workouts with his players at Hartford, and all-time steals leader, 2-time defensive player of the year in that league, played 14 seasons, whether it be with some NBA teams as far as going to camp and overseas. the guy can still play. And I think that's absolutely what our team needs. I think it doesn't do any good to get a recruiting class if you're not going to make them better. And I think this just adds to Chad and adds to Joe and guys that can make this staff better. Amir was a huge loss because in a year's time, he affected everybody personally, he affected our program professionally. He did a lot of things. That's why he's a marked man to become a head coach. You know, it's just a matter of if it was going to be now or if it was going to be in the future. So with that being said, if I could have gotten an Amir clone, you know, I'd have done it, but there really isn't. And that's not to say there weren't other people that were good for the region, but it was more than that. It's the ability to coach it. I love somebody that's got that attitude towards defense. Gives us another region of recruiting. He's got a sister in Lawrenceville, so he's not a stranger to Atlanta. And I think it'll be good for our entire staff. He's already been spending a lot of time with Chad Dollar, and it gives Chad another region to learn. Because at the end of the day, you want to recruit to your school. Well, we're a national school. Certainly being able to recruit in Georgia is huge, but at the same time, we want these guys to become head coaches. This is the 9th guy for me that's become a head coach coming off of our staff. I want that to be for them. So Chad learns a little bit more about another region. John learns more about this region. At the end of the day, because we're a team recruiting staff, it's not, okay, you got your recruits, he's got his recruits, he's got his recruits. We're not doing it that way. You know, there's a point man, point guard, so to speak, on every recruit. But we want everybody involved in it. Because when you don't have that, that creates a lot of chaos in your staff when somebody leaves. So having people that are well-versed and have different personalities that can mesh together, I think that's a huge thing. And if we can do that and make players better on the floor, that's going to really be good for our recruiting.
Mercer basketball,
Last
we got
question,
new
Carl.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
new head coach Craig Carey. I know you guys have.
I'm sorry?
Mercer basketball, the
Yeah.
new head coach Greg Carey. I know you guys have some battles when he was at Purdue.
Mhm.
Can you talk about him a little bit, or do you know anything?
Yeah, I
about
think he's a good coach. Yeah, I know him from the Purdue days and the Tulane days. And I think he's a good coach, so I hope he does well.
Thanks, Coach Crean.
Thanks,
You're
sir.
welcome. Thank you. Leave it back.